Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and it's another edition of the Blues Fix here on Misplaced Straws. Or should I actually call this one the High Voltage Blues Fix? My guest today, I think, can accurately be described as the Canadian son of Billy Gibbons and Johnny Winter. He just put out a great new record featuring some re recordings of old material as well as a few new songs. The record is called High Voltage Blues. Please welcome Anthony Gomes. Welcome.
Hey, great to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, my pleasure. And, I have to admit, when I first heard that the record was going to be re-recording some of your old songs, my first thought is that never works because you get so attached to the old songs. But then I heard it and it really blew me away. And I guess first off, how did you decide which songs you wanted to go back to? Because you have such a huge catalog. And second, after playing those songs for so many years, how did you visualize these new arrangements of them?
Sorry about that cat moment, Jeff. When you're at home,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what a great question, because it's such a daunting task to take the songs that you have in your catalog that everybody knows the words to in your fan base. And they've gone to the Burger King drive-through at 2 a.m. with it blaring. And, so we decided that these versions couldn't be as good because the nostalgic factor would trump, a re-recording that was as good. We had to make them 10 times better for people to go, oh, I like this better. It couldn't be by a small margin. So the label Rat Pack Records and Joe O'Brien helped us pick some of the songs. And that was an interesting journey because Joe was a new fan of ours. He was more on the rock side of things, and his label is more on the harder edge of rock music. And he was listening to Gary Moore, and our song popped up, and he really dug it. So he was a first-time new fan. So he said, hey, what about this song? What about that song? And we were, it's so funny you mentioned this because we were wondering if this was really a really bad idea to redo these songs. But he said, hey, there's a whole bunch of people that don't know who you are, and this is a way to introduce your music to them. So it was his idea to bring Billy Sheehan and Ray Luzier from Korn on, 5 or 6 songs. I said, okay, well, that'll definitely up the ante, my producer and manager, Peter Carson, and I worked really hard on the recordings and just tried to, blow what we had done out of the water. You're so used to singing them and hearing them a certain way. But I got so energized thinking, hey, man, this is our shot to get these right. Like, let's do it. Let's go all the way. We had Chris Collier mix it, which also helped tremendously. So that was the journey that took. So I was afraid up till the release, thinking, oh, God, we might have just done the most bonehead thing. Well, what a way to screw your career, kid. Yeah, nice move. But I'm so happy that people have been so receptive to the new and older songs on this album.
And you kind of glossed over the fact real quick there that you have Ray Luzier and Billy Sheehan on a handful of these songs. And, Billy actually, he was on an episode of this show just a couple of weeks ago. He's a great guy. Those two themselves usually don't play together. How did you get them to all come together on your record? I mean, did you know them, or was it, as you said, the label?
Well, basically, I followed them around for months and took incriminating photos of them and blackmailed them. No, our label really worked with that, and they've worked with Billy and Ray on other projects. And that was really Joe's mastermind idea. He said, hey, what if we put these guys? I don't think that Ray's ever played on a blues thing before, but I really looked to that as sort of a very different in some ways, but like Cream, I'm a huge Cream fan, as you can tell. I have really gears in the background, but that to me is a blues guy, Eric Clapton,
Mm,
with two virtuoso, maybe non-blues
mm,
players, and they created this different sound. And I think Billy and Ray really brought that to the table, you know, and it was very inspiring. It was, you know, and it was also okay. This is a dream. Like I'm just a nerd, man. I'm a music nerd. I love music, man. I've listened to these guys forever. They're my heroes, you
mm.
know. And then it's like, God, you can't suck. These guys are on your album, man. You know, like you got to at least try to keep up. You know, just
Yeah.
try. So it was good. It was good.
And there's three new tracks on the record as well. And one thing I think is really cool is with the new arrangements of the old songs, it flows perfect. If you're a first time listener, you can't pick out, well, okay, well, this is a new song. This is a song from 10 years ago. Was it important to you that, again, this flowed as a record, as a piece of work, as opposed to, the traditional greatest hits where it's kind of all different types of sounds?
Yeah, you know, that's a very astute point. Yes, there was something, you know, how you play something 10 years ago is not how you're going to play it
Mhm.
today. Or you don't look like you did in your high school yearbook picture, you know? So it's sort of like, uh, I definitely tried to say, okay, if I was doing, you have a song called Turn It Up. If I was going to play this riff today, how would I do it? I wouldn't have, I wrote it like this, but so I actually rewrote a lot of guitar parts to keep them fresh and current and give the listener that experience that it was a cohesive album. They never heard us before. Hey, this is a new album from a new artist you've never heard. At the same time, for our fans, I didn't want them to go, you know, oh God, it's what a money grab this is. You know, they're rehashing the same damn songs and got a different mix. So yeah, all those all those paranoid feelings came into full effect on this one.
But when we talk about these new arrangements, I think it just kind of follows the evolution of your sound. I mean, you go back to the beginning with like blues and Technicolor. Even on the cover, you're there with a Telecaster. It's more of a traditional, clean blues sound. Fast forward to now, you got the V going, and it's a harder edge Texas blues kind of feel to it. Is it a matter of you just kind of exploring all different aspects of the genre, or is it just kind of a natural, moving from one to the other?
Oh wow, what an interesting question. I always try to create every album I do like it's my first album.
Mm,
And um, why I say that is a lot of artists' first album are their best because they put no limits on themselves. It's who they are at the moment. And I try to do that. So part of that is exploring, keeping it fresh,
mm,
um, you know, trying different sounds. At the same time, I was trying early in my career, I was trying to find myself as an artist. And, um, you know, a lot of people were pushing me in certain directions. Okay, you need to be branded this way. You know, you're a Canadian blues guy, and you don't get too heavy.
mhm,
You shouldn't be finger tapping on a blues record. Oh my God, And then you get rock people going, oh, finger tapping is so it's so 80s. Oh,
mhm,
And now I'm like, I'm going to be exactly who I am, which
mhm,
is a blues soul and a rock and roll heart. And if I want to tap and I want to play a V and I want to play a John Lee Hooker lick followed by Billy Gibbons or Eddie Van Halen, I'm going to do it.
mhm,
That's who I am, for better or for worse.
mhm,
So there you go. And I think that honesty with myself and that comfort level as to who I am, because I really don't fit into that neat blues box and
mhm.
I don't fit into that rock box. I'm somewhere in this weird, strange middle place. But that's my lane, and I'm going to cruise down that lane, and like I own it, Jeff. Gonna drive it like I own it.
The only way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So that's basically
Yeah.
it. And yeah,
Well, and again, being Canadian, I don't think people associate the blues with Canada. You know, Are there, pockets of the blues up there like we see in various cities here in the US?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, you try surviving a Canadian winter and not have the blues. I mean, Canadians,
Well, I'm
you
in
got the
Connecticut,
blues.
so it's almost as cold.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah.
They haven't won a cup in, I don't know, 2,000 years. So it's like, we got the blues. Yeah. There are great pockets of Canadian blues. They're wonderful, talented musicians. And it's pretty much just like anywhere else in the world. There's people that, in Helsinki, Finland, that have the
Mhm.
blues and they're wonderful blues players. And um, it's just God's practical joke that they're born in Helsinki, Finland, and not the Delta, and it's sort of, but
Yeah.
that's the testament to the blues.
Yeah.
It's a global thing. But there are pockets and very, very talented musicians throughout the world.
Mhm.
But in Canada especially too, there's some wonderful players.
Did you ever find it oh, difficult to be accepted by the traditional blues guys down here, in Memphis and Chicago and Texas? Did they see you as an outsider, or is it just the kid could play, you're one of us?
Man, here's the interesting thing. I was embraced with open arms
Mm.
from B.B. King to Eddie Campbell to Big Jack Johnson. They took me under their wing and they listened to my style of blues without prejudice.
Mhm.
B.B. King said, we had the pleasure of touring with him. What a great human being. And he would tell me stories like, he'd say, son, you have to do the blues your way. I put an orchestra on a blues single. No, nobody thought you should do that in the blues. And I cleaned it up. He was saying, sharing the things that he did that were different, that now are accepted as the norm, but weren't. Um, and the further I go to, closer I get to Mississippi, the more I'm accepted. The more I get closer to the source of the music, the more people understand that, yes, I'm just playing the blues. I'm just doing it with a purple hat or whatever, like it's still the blues. The pushback I get is the further away I get from the source. Say even in Canada or further around the world, or with the blues community that has their own bias and agenda. Um, and it's the blues is such a small little circle, and there's so much infighting and division, and if somebody claims the blues to me, I love the Black Keys. I think they're blues. Some people don't think they're blues. Bring it on. You're claiming the blues?
Yeah.
Bring it on, and of course I can hear it in the music. They're wonderful. But so to me, the pushback is not from the traditional musicians or the region or anything. It's from the people that are so far removed, but are now self-proclaimed experts, and then they've placed themselves in positions of power in the blues community to be tastemakers and influencers. Luckily for us, the general public is the ultimate tastemaker and influencer. So, have I diplomatically answered that, Jeff?
You did a great job on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Changing gears a little bit. I know you got a tour coming up soon. Who joined you in the band on your tour?
Wonderful. We're a power trio, two great musicians, great human beings. Jacob Marine on the bass from St. Louis, also from St. Louis, where I live right now. Christopher Whited on the drums, accomplished musicians. We have so much fun rolling down the road. I've been in bands where, one guy in the band is just, everybody wants to leave him at the truck stop, because he's so high maintenance or whatever, or he's got issues, or, everybody, we're like-minded guys, we love music, we're in it for the music. And we just have so much fun.
That's always a good thing. And one thing I want to make sure we spend some time talking about is you have a great nonprofit foundation, a 501c3 called Music is the Medicine. Talk a bit about how that foundation came to be and what you guys do.
Well, we're a modest but effective foundation where 100% of our donations actually go to whatever causes we're doing. So we've done various things. We've given guitars to war veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder and given them private instruction. We've funded scholarships. We've worked with Autism Speaks for kids who have nonverbal autism or dealing with autism, and music as an outlet for them. We also sponsored a choir in Montreal General Hospital that is made up of paranoid schizophrenic patients. I started music as a medicine because my mom battles with mental illness, and something I never really talked about early on. She's a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, and it was very, very challenging growing up. Music got me through it. Music filled in all the holes that my mom couldn't. And if it wasn't for music, who knows where I would be. And so the thinking was I wanted to help people and give them back through music, how music had helped me. And I aligned myself with some wonderful people, a gentleman named Mark Cortese and a friend of ours in Montreal, Tony Teddy, Bill Hall, and in Peoria helped us out. And anyway, Tony said there's this choir of mentally ill patients. And my mom, who lives in Quebec City, had actually been in Montreal General for some treatment. And he said it's made up of these paranoid schizophrenic patients. So we made a donation to give them a PA. You know, they do gigs and they make albums, and they had to rent a PA to do their gigs. So through our fans, we raised enough money to donate a PA, and we got some listening stations, Apple tablets, so people could listen to music. And we were so moved by this choir. They were singing. I mean, it was very, very moving. So we said, well, we got to do better. We got to get them a recording studio in the hospital. Oh, God, I'm sure the hospital loves drum tracking day, right? So anyway, again, we went to our fans, and we raised several thousands of dollars, and they got a recording studio. And they presented a plaque in the studio and put my mom's name on it, which was very, very touching. And they make albums now free of charge. They don't have to rent a PA. So it's not like we're doing huge, super crazy things, but we are making a difference in the way that we can. And it's all volunteer stuff. So we haven't gotten too crazy big that we need to have a huge payroll. And so if somebody donates $1, $1 goes, to helping out. And during COVID, we assisted some musicians with modest donations, but every little bit helps, putting some groceries on the table. So yeah, any way that we can help music makers or people healing through music. We work with St. Jude's Hospital and gave them some listening stations for kids to listen to music and stream music. So yeah, man, thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, and again, it's called Music is the Medicine. Wherever you're watching this interview, whether you're on the Misplaced Straws website, on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, I'll have the link to the website for the charity there, so people could find out about it and find out how to get involved. And it's an amazing thing. And anything I can do to help you get the word out about that, just say the word.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that, man. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. And we've been spending some time here with Anthony Gomes. The record is called High Voltage Blues. It's out right now. It's a great record. It's a fun, heavy blues record with some great musicians on it. Anthony, thank you so much. Best of luck on the record. Best of luck on the tour coming up over the next few weeks as well.
Thanks so much, Jeff, for your time, and for everybody listening. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you.
Yep.